much. I appreciate it.
For sure, for sure. Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Hip Hop Nation TV South Africa. Yeah, man, it's been a while, guys. So I'm excited. We got the OG Keri D. So yeah, we're gonna be
Thank you
speaking
very
into him
much.
right now. What's up, OG?
I'm excited, bro. I have my medallion. Can you see it? I don't know if you can see it there. You see
Okay,
it
it's
there?
a big. Yeah. I see it. I see it.
The picture's kind of crazy right now,
Yeah,
but
the reflection of it.
Africa, yes, Africa, South Africa. Such an honor
Yeah,
to be here on the platform in the continent. Thank you so much for inviting me, Ecliptic. I appreciate it. Thank you.
for sure, for sure. It's an honor to have you here. Man, I'm excited. I just seeing your longevity in the game. It's amazing.
Thank you.
I think so many young people could learn from people like you. I mean, can you just tell us about yourself?
Yeah. So
Growing up in Massachusetts.
sure. I'm originally from Boston, Massachusetts. That's about 200 miles north of New York City. I moved to New York
Yeah.
City in 1996, 27 years ago, man, to pursue,
Wow.
the music thing and to grow. And it's been an interesting ride. The radio show that I host is called the Kerry's
Yeah.
Corner Radio Show. It's
Yeah.
celebrate. The radio show has celebrated its 10-year anniversary in April, and
Hmm.
yeah, I'm just excited to keep moving. I moved to New York City to make it happen, brother. And it hasn't been an easy ride. I'm not going to sit here and say that it's been great. The full
Yeah.
27 years is, I had some ups and downs, but the past 10 to 15 years have been pretty productive. So yeah, I'm cool with that.
Yeah. I mean, just checking about yourself. I mean, it's amazing because you mentioned that you started writing a poem at the age of 9.
Yes, yes, yes. So I love writing. I have two novels out. The
Yeah.
Wanderer's Game was my first book that became actually a Broadway play in New York City. My
Yeah.
second book, Idol, came out about 2 years later. And
Yeah.
yeah, I started writing when I was a 9-year-old kid in Boston, writing poems. I've always been into writing. That's been the thing that I've loved the most is making up stories and poems and even writing some songs. So
Yeah.
yeah, I've been doing that most of my life. Yeah, love it. Love to write.
For sure, for sure. Plus, I mean, I saw like you mentioned like you won a contest or something for that at a very young age. How was
Yeah.
that like? I mean, the opportunities, did it open you to a lot of doors?
So I was 9 years old, like you said. There was a writing contest for in Boston, where I grew up, um,
Yeah,
for a Halloween contest in the local newspaper, the Boston
yeah,
Herald, and I wrote a poem, a Halloween poem,
yes.
um, called "Boo and Simon Sue" or something like that. I was a kid; I just made it up, and it was it was one of the poems that was selected to appear in the newspaper. So I was 9 years old, and I remember my mother bought a whole bunch of copies of the newspaper. And at 9 years old, to see your poem in a newspaper is a big deal. This is like the
Yeah,
early '80s or something. And
yeah,
from that point on, like I started really, taking my writing seriously, at least I'm a kid. I still want to play in dirt and build clubhouses and do kid stuff. But
yeah,
I definitely found a love in writing. Started writing little books and reaching out to other Black authors in other cities in the United States and developing a love for writing that I've never let go of. So yeah, 9 years old. I wish I could find the poem, but that's long gone. But that's where my love for writing started. Ecliptic, yeah. Uh oh, you frozen or something? I don't know. Something seems. I don't know. I don't see you moving, or I can't hear you. So I don't know what's going on with the stream yard. I hope everything's connected um, correctly. but she'll let me. You'll figure it out. I'm not the tech guy here, but I will say this, brother. As we're waiting to figure out what kind of technical difficulties are going on, I'm
My
super
bad,
excited.
actually, I had a network problem. I don't know what happened.
That's fine. That's fine. I was still talking, but
Yeah,
yeah, just excited, brother. I want to say this again. Uh,
yeah,
just to be talking to somebody from the continent. I mean, that is so awesome for me. I've never been to Africa, but I've always wanted to go. So
definitely. We should make a time for that. Because I've been speaking to Rezkaz and Elder Sensei and Reina Simone and many others from your side. You know,
yes, are
so
you are you in Johannesburg or Cape
yes,
Town?
I'm enjoying.
Okay, Joburg, right?
Yeah, I'm in Joburg. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
All
I,
right.
I think maybe you saw me with Siseko. So he's from Cape Town. So yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, yeah. He usually speaks with Smoke G from UGK
Nice. Okay. Okay. Wow.
for
Always
sure.
want to visit Africa. Always
Yeah.
want to visit, but I haven't yet. But I'm still young, sort of.
Yeah, it's still fresh, still
Yeah.
fresh. But yeah, I mean, um, so because I also saw like you winning the contest, and also like you mentioned like having challenges, losing your father. How was that like?
Yeah. So in 1996, uh, um, my father was killed in Boston. He was
Yeah.
shot. He was shot. It actually happened the day before Father's Day, up in Boston.
Wow.
But that was kind of it for me. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna, as brother to brother, I wanted
Yeah.
to leave Boston for a long time. I
Yeah.
think I graduated from high school in 1991, right?
Yeah.
Um, but I already, even then, even in 1991, even before that, I wasn't happy in Boston. I didn't feel that it was, big enough or black enough to provide me with the things that I wanted to do insofar as the music business. So I wanted to leave anyway. But in
Yeah.
1996, in June of 1996, my father was killed, and that was kind of like enough for me, bro. Like, I was like, you know what? I need to get out of here. I need to leave Boston. I had
Yeah.
always wanted to live in New York City. The bright lights, the big opportunities. I always wanted to live in New York City anyway. So a couple of months
Yeah.
after my father died in 1996, 27 years ago, I moved to New York City, man, and I
Yeah.
moved by myself. My mother
Wow.
and most of my family, back in Boston. Again, that's 200 miles away. I moved to New York City to be an adult, to be a man and to grow, and that's what I did. But again, it hasn't been easy. You know, it hasn't been horrible. I don't want to say
Yeah.
that. I mean, I love New York
Yeah.
City. I would never move out of New York City, but it's taught me to really to grow and to be a man and to be an adult. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure,
So
for sure. It seems like you're a person that comes easily inspired even in times of pain. Because I saw you also mention like you were in prison and you also started writing still.
yeah, man. I went to prison in 2000. I was arrested in 2004. I went to state
Yeah,
prison in 2005, and I was released from state prison in 2007. And yeah, I used a lot of that time while I was in prison for identity theft. It was, stealing,
yeah,
white collar crime, they call it,
yeah,
credit cards and all that other stuff that I was doing back then.
yeah,
Yeah, I used that opportunity to write. Man, writing for me was like an escape. A lot of guys that are in jail, they fight, they do
yeah.
drugs.
True.
There's a lot of unhealthy things that go on in prison here in the states. I mean, I'm sure everywhere where
Yeah,
people that are, that you don't have a lot to look forward to. You're in jail. You're locked up with a whole bunch of rules and regulations, etc. And,
yeah,
and it can be a lot on your mind, right? And so
yeah,
I chose to do what I do best, I think, was to
yeah,
write. And a lot of the writing that I did while I was in prison, Ecliptic, became the books that I released when I got out of jail. So the books
yeah,
that I have on Amazon and that people all over the world have been buying and reading, and those books were written while I was in prison.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Um,
sometimes you got to take a bad situation and make the best out of it. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. Because I mean, I saw you mentioned like those books got like a 5-star review. So I
Yes.
mean, that was
Uh,
something powerful. How was that like receiving that experience?
I'll tell you something, Ecliptic. Um, to know where I was at when I wrote those books,
Yeah,
in prison, in confinement, all I had was a pencil that was maybe this big because you're not allowed
yeah.
pencils and pens in prison here in the
Prisons,
States.
yes,
Yeah. So, a pencil this big on the back of other pieces of paper, anything I could find, to then when I got out and then to put them into the form of actual books and to have
yeah,
those books get 5 stars, it meant a lot to me, not just because people liked the story, but because I knew where I was when I created those stories.
yeah. Wow,
Yeah.
that's
So
that's amazing. That's
very rewarding for me to I've received awards for the books and to be able
mm,
to use that experience to share with other people who have been in prison to encourage them that they can do better, that they
yeah,
can get out of this situation, that they don't have to keep going back and back and back to prison. um,
yeah,
it's very rewarding for me to be able to share with other people the experiences
yeah.
that I've had.
For sure, for sure, for sure. But I mean, considering that you lost your father at a very young age, do you think that could have be the reason that triggered you to living that kind of life before?
No.
Do you think maybe within the community?
Mm, well, you know what, brother? Um, Again, I will say this. So again, I went to prison for credit card theft.
Yeah,
I wasn't selling drugs or
yeah,
shooting people or stabbing people. I don't know anything about that life. Like that
yeah,
street life, I don't know anything about that.
yeah,
The crimes that I was involved in had everything to do with survival. I needed to pay my rent. I needed to
yeah,
buy food. So, I mean, I did those things, with the credit cards and everything to make money, not to necessarily to harm people, right?
yeah,
But I will say this now that you mentioned it, and this is something I've never said before. Um,
yes,
when my father was murdered, right, in
yeah.
1996, there was never anybody arrested. To this day,
Wow,
I have no idea who killed my father.
wow,
I have an idea of why it happened, but I have no idea who shot him. The
yeah,
people that did know didn't want to say anything, um,
wow,
and so I have no idea who killed my father. Right, and I didn't
yeah,
feel I was 24 years old when my father was killed. I was very angry that the community didn't speak up. That the police, the Boston police, the police in Boston, I didn't feel that they did a good job investigating. They
yeah,
kind of brushed it under the rug because it was just another black man that was killed in Massachusetts, right? And
yeah,
so, as you mentioned it, yeah, I think there was definitely a part of me that felt angry at the justice system in general that would
yeah,
allow my father's murder to go unsolved. But then, for me stealing, I was arrested and given a lot of prison time for a person just stealing credit cards. I
yes,
did get a hefty sentence. They wanted to give me 3 to 5 years or 3 to 10 years. They gave me 2.5 to 7.5 years in prison, which is a lot for uh,
mm,
uh, for stealing. And,
yes,
and and in which case, I'm not saying that I was innocent, but I do feel that the punishment should fit the crime. And so the
yeah,
fact that I went to jail for a longer period of time than whoever killed my father, that did make me upset. and uh, and I'm glad that you asked that. That's a pretty good question.
Yeah, for sure. Because I mean, because I saw like you also like part of programs that address gun violence and police brutality and things like that. Um, so that's why I was asking those questions because I mean, that does that actually inspire that as well? Because I mean, considering some of the police brutalities that happen, whether here at my country or the country that you're in,
Yeah,
there's a lot of injustice and answers are never given answers, and people that are supposed to be held responsible are never held responsible. Is there something? Is there something? Is this caused maybe because of the fact that as Black people there's a lack of unity, or what could be this? What how can we be able to address um the system? Because I feel like the system that might be oppressing you guys, that side is also the same as that side, because um I've witnessed certain individuals from your side, like in the USA, like white guys, and also some certain white guys in my country that are at the elite that team up with each other. So like what is the cause of us as Black people who have great leaders but we're not able to unite with each other?
So I'm 51 years old, right? So I
Yeah.
remember apartheid. I'm not sure how old you are. I don't know. You know,
Yeah, I'm in my 30s.
yeah. So when apartheid was became a global discussion, right? When people
Yeah,
in Western countries decided that it wasn't okay for South Africa to participate
yeah,
in type of a political climate, I was old
yeah,
enough to remember the boycotts. I was old
yeah,
enough to remember the Western countries, the United States, and the countries in Europe,
yeah,
boycotting South Africa. I remember all of that very well. I remember
yeah,
Mandela getting out of jail. I remember that, right? But I'm going to
yeah,
say something to you, um, and I'm loving this conversation, loving it.
yeah,
Um, I always said to myself, isn't it interesting that the country that I live in, the United States, is
yeah,
so much against apartheid, and yet
yeah,
in this country, we definitely were uh, we had our own version of apartheid.
yes,
It's always been very interesting to me the way that the United States, you know, goes around the world telling everybody what they're doing wrong, but doesn't
exactly.
address the issues that happen here in this country, right? I'm not
Yep,
comparing the two. I'm not saying that they're equal, but they were definitely the same in terms.
true.
They were definitely similar. Black
Yep,
people have been oppressed in the United States since we came to the United States.
yes,
I think everybody knows that, right? So
yep,
in terms of how things work in South Africa with the Dutch versus the United States. For one thing, in South Africa, you guys were the majority.
true.
The Dutch that were oppressing Black
Uh,
Africans were a
yes,
small
minority.
number. It was a
Yep,
minority. But when you
yep,
have guns and you have the money and you have the power, it doesn't
yep,
matter whether you're the majority or the minority. Obviously, here in the
yep,
United States, there's only 13%, according to statistics, only
yep,
13% of people in the United States identify as being black. So we're the minority, right?
yep,
But there's certainly a lack of unity. All right.
yep,
So I feel that if Black Americans had the type of unity
yep,
that other Black people around the globe, particularly in Haiti, and in the
true.
Caribbean countries,
Yes,
there's not a lot of money, but there's a lot of unity, and there's a lot of strength in unity. Black
yep,
Americans lack unity. We talk about that as a collective all the time.
yep,
You have Black politicians in this country, ecliptic, who are Republican, who follow Donald Trump. You know what I mean? So it's really difficult to fight an oppressor when you have so
Yep.
many people with so many different agendas. And
True.
I'm not sure if that's the same in South Africa because, like I said, in South Africa, I did very well in a history class. But South Africa, you guys are the majority. So there, I think
True.
it's an economic issue. I'm not really sure. I probably need to do my research on how the transition happened. When
Yeah.
apartheid was finally dismantled and Mandela, God
Yeah.
rest his soul, when he became the president of South Africa, I wonder, how was the were the white Afrikaans treated once Mandela became president? I don't really know that. I need to do my research on that. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
definitely, I will say it's definitely a lack of unity.
Yeah.
It's a lack of direction here in the United
Yeah.
States. Black people are not the same. Okay, we
Yeah.
have black people that want to fight for our progress. We have other black
Yeah.
people who don't you
True.
know and then we also
True.
have ecliptic. I want to add this in. We also have other racial groups here in this country who
Yep.
participate in anti-black racism.
Yes.
Asians. I, I might get in trouble for saying this, but
Yeah.
Asians in this country uh, are huge participants in anti-black racism.
Yeah.
Latinos from Mexico and Central America, they come to the United States, and all of a sudden, they want to be part of the white elite. Not all of them, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
but a lot of them want to also have anti-black racist moves. And so when they get into politics and Asians get into politics, it's like they're all fighting against black people in this country. Again, not all
Yeah.
of them, but a lot of them. It's very, very, the dynamic is complicated here, bro.
Yeah. I mean, it's very interesting that you mentioned that that the Asians support you a lot because like even right now with the whole BRICS situation, like the Chinese are also involved with creating wanting to create a new currency. You know what I'm saying? And also other countries and the Arabs as well.
Right, right.
Yeah.
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 So yeah,
Yeah. But the thing is, I usually ask myself like, are we maybe making enough effort here at home to connect with people with our brothers in the diaspora with you guys because last year no I think a couple of months ago we saw Dr. Umar Johnson come this side in South Africa, you know what I'm saying. And it was interesting just to listen to his conversation with one of the guys he was interviewed by. um yeah, I honestly feel like maybe people like us with your radio station, with your radio show and my podcast and many other people, maybe we could be able to bridge that gap of
yes,
of of
exactly.
um yeah of getting our leaders this side and the leaders and the black leaders that side, so that we're able to create our own economy that just circulates around us.
There
Why
definitely
is that
is.
we're not competing at that level? Because I mean, like, you have the Jews in Israel,
Right,
um,
right,
helping the Jews in America, and you have the Asians in China helping the Asians in America. They still united regardless of whether the fact of whether they born in this continent or not that continent, but they still realized what race they're part of.
right. You're so on point with that. You're so right. I mean, you have black people in Australia, you know,
Yeah,
whose land was taken from them the same way
exactly.
as they were as the Native Americans in the United
Yeah,
States. Their land was stolen from them. It's the same thing.
yeah,
Europeans colonized a large swath of this globe, and if there was a collective between Africans in the motherland, uh,
yeah,
black people in Australia, black people globally, it
yeah.
would be a beautiful thing. But I mean, it's just, I think that we get caught up in our nations. I think that
True.
So yeah, here in the United States, we have a lot of Black Americans like myself whose ancestors, are from Africa, right? But then
True.
you have a lot of blacks from the Caribbean. Obviously, their
Yeah.
ancestors are from Africa also, but they hold on to their Caribbean roots, right? And so
True.
there's a lot of times there's not even a connection here in the states between all the black people. You have the Black
Yeah.
Americans like myself. You have blacks
Yeah.
from Haiti, from Jamaica, from other Caribbean countries. Then you have
Yeah.
blacks from Africa, and there doesn't seem to be a connect because we want to hold on to whatever country, whatever nation we come from. We hold on
Yeah.
to our nationalities, but we don't hold on to what's really important, which is our race. It doesn't matter if you're black from France or black from
Yeah.
New York or black from
Yeah.
Johannesburg. You're
Yeah.
black. You know what I mean? And I mean that's the problem. There is absolutely no connectivity between black people from across the planet.
For sure. For sure, Uchi. I respect that. But for those maybe that might be interested, from your side, how can they join your movements? Because I mean, it's really sad, like, to see some of the injustice on police brutality against black people.
Well, so okay, so here's another thing. So I'm a member of the NAACP, right? The National
Oh,
Advancement National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, right? I'm a member. I've
true,
been a member for almost a year. But so there are a lot of different groups though, like the NAACP, right? And
true,
we don't necessarily always see eye to eye on our direction. So Ecliptic again, it's. I joined the NAACP because I felt like I wanted to utilize my platform um, to to the betterment of people of color, specifically Black people.
yeah,
Um, but there is so you. This goes back to what you said in the beginning,
yeah,
unity. There
yeah,
are, if every black person in the United States said we're not going to tolerate police brutality, then there
yeah.
wouldn't be any police brutality, right? But there's
Wow,
just not a cohesiveness uh, uh, with black people here in this country to make that to eradicate that. People have
yeah,
to die. It's the same thing here in the states. The police are responsible for somebody's death. Then
yeah,
there's the marches. Then there's the news stories. Then
yeah,
usually there are no arrests. But even when an officer or a law enforcement person is arrested, you know, how often do they really get punished, and do they go to jail? And then after it's all over, Ecliptic, we move on.
yeah, uh,
We move on. The only people
yeah,
that are still, crying and grieving are the relatives and friends of the person that was murdered. But as black people, we have a very
yeah,
short attention span and we
yeah,
move on. And I think that's the problem. We don't stick together and say, no, we're not going to tolerate this. The same way the
yeah,
black people in America did in the 1960s, for the civil rights
yeah,
movement. It's not the same today. Black people today in the United States are not the same as they were in the 1960s.
for
They,
sure,
you
for
know,
sure,
they're,
for sure, for
they're
sure.
more
Do you,
interested.
but do you think maybe uh, as writers, because, like, I'm an MC, right? And you're a writer. Do you think maybe we're not we're not making enough effort to write content that reminds our people of who they are, and then maybe that's what causes the short attention span, or or the lack of consciousness of who we are.
There's a lot of conscious writers, MCs,
Yeah,
musicians, actors, and people with platforms, right? But those
yeah,
are not the platforms that get the attention. So here in the United States, look at hip hop. We're celebrating
yeah,
the 50th year of hip hop culture in the United
true.
States. Okay, and hip hop, specifically rap music, is
Yep,
not the same today as it was 30, 40, 50 years ago. These
true.
people are putting out music that pollutes the mind, in my opinion, of our people. They're the guys, the males are rapping about using drugs and shooting people and using women for their bodies. The women are rapping about being hoes and sluts and just all this other stuff. They're the popular artists, pop artists of today are not using their platform to the betterment of our people because they know that that's not what the industry wants them to put out, right?
Yeah,
So if you're a popular poet, writer, and you want to use your platform um, to discuss police brutality or to discuss drug abuse or to discuss collective growth in terms of money and politics, you're not going to get the same platform as somebody that wants to rap about drugs, guns, and sex. It's just that
yeah,
simple. It's just that simple. So, I mean, to your point, do I think that
yep,
there's enough people like yourself and myself um,
yep,
using our platform? Yes, but we're just not able to put that message out to the masses because that's not what society wants uh, the masses to hear.
well,
So I think the best thing for us to do is it's one each one teach one. I spent a lot of time um, with Intrigue magazine, with the Kerry's Corner
yep,
radio show, and with the other things that I'm involved in. I I,
yep,
I go I go to jails a lot to
yep,
speak to young people about
yep,
changing their lives. You got to do it from a real organic level. So
yep,
Eclipse, you have to be the one to talk to the people in your community directly about growth and change. Because you may not get that big platform that Kanye West has,
yep,
that Drake has. You know what I mean?
yep,
Like
yep,
Akon has. They're not going to
yep,
use their platforms because they're so focused on just trying to make more and more and more money. So you have to
yep,
use your platform and your voice um, to talk to the people whose ears you can reach.
yep. But do you think Kanye did enough justice with him? I mean, exposing the whole industry being owned by the Jewish people, or
I First of all, I'm going to start by saying I am not a fan of Kanye West at all. I think that he is a bigger problem for Black
yeah,
people than he is a solution. I
yeah,
think there's some mental stuff going on with that guy, and I think that
yeah,
he says stuff just to get attention. So just because he spoke about the stuff that goes on in the music industry, first of all, that's not anything new. Kanye West
yeah,
isn't saying anything that those of us that have been in the music industry for a couple of years doesn't already know. There's nothing genius about that guy. So no,
yeah,
just because he spoke about his opinion of what goes on in the music industry, first of all, that's so what? Okay, we already know that. But look at all of the
yeah,
things that he said against Black people. This is the same
yeah,
man that said slavery was a choice. This is the same man that you know is a fan of Donald Trump. I
yeah,
can't really take this person seriously. Kanye West is absolutely, positively, in my opinion, not the type of person that Black America or America in general needs to be
yeah,
following. I mean, he's not. He's an entertainer at best. He's not
yeah,
anybody's scholar. He's certainly not a genius. I don't know where people got that ridiculous idea from. And he's just not a civil rights advocate. He's a person that advocates for himself.
yeah,
You need somebody. I think in this day and age, black leaders, we had Mandela, we had Martin Luther King, we had Malcolm X.
Okay, yeah,
We
yeah,
don't. In this day and age, people are not interested in leaders. People are
yeah,
more interested in leadership, and
yeah,
so because I mean, you have to think about it. Today's generation is going to listen to a podcast or a YouTube channel or
yeah,
a social media uh, influencer more than they're going to listen to the news.
true,
So it's not about if you really want to make change, you got to start grassroots, and you really have to start with again those ears that are willing to listen to what you have to say.
for sure, for sure. I mean, plus, I mean, you mentioned that you usually go to prisons and stuff like that. You being able to come out of prison and being able to create your own movie and life story.
Yeah.
Um, do you think after prison there are programs that are created to support those that have come out of prison?
So in the United States, that would depend on where you live.
Yeah,
Uh, some states are better equipped to deal with persons being released from prison than others. Some
yeah,
cities are uh, better facilitate the release of prisoners than others. So I live in New
yeah,
York City. New York
yeah,
City is the largest city in the United States. Um, there are a lot of programs here in New York City for people that are coming home from prison. There are a lot of programs designed to get them jobs.
yeah,
Um, there are skills, but I mean, it's always about money. You know,
yeah,
does the city or state have enough money to take care of these people? Um, and, and
yeah,
and and what's important to the taxpayers? What should be important because most people, ecliptic, statistically speaking, right? Most people that go
true,
to prison are coming home. Most people that go to prison are not going to die in prison. They're not going to get the death penalty. That's not most. There's a lot of them, but that's not most. Most people that go to prison will be coming home at some point, right? And so I
yeah,
think it's very important for us as a society to create something for them so that they don't come from prison worse than they were when they first went to prison. Um,
for sure.
my story is a little different. I went to prison in my 30s,
Yeah,
and I had went to college and I had worked before I went to prison. So when I came out, it wasn't as hard for me to find my way. Plus, I wasn't in
yeah,
prison that long. I was in prison for about 2 to 3 years. I mean, that's a long time, but it
yeah,
wasn't 10 years or 20 years.
yeah,
Um, I didn't have to play catch up as much as a lot as another person might, and I had resources because I had family, I had friends, and I had an
yeah,
education and I had a work history. So,
yeah,
unfortunately, most people that go to prison do not necessarily have those things in place,
things,
right? So, I
true,
have decided for me to try to go to the youth jails where the people are younger and speak to them before they go to prison so that when they
yeah,
get out, because they're going to come home, most of them,
yeah,
that when
yeah,
they come out, they can remember, oh, yeah, I remember talking to that guy, me,
yeah,
before I got to prison. And if he can make it happen for himself, maybe I can do the same thing. Also, I try to
true,
provide opportunities for some of these kids that I get to interact with when I go to the prisons. I don't do it every day. I do it.
true,
I've done it like a couple of times, and I try to
yeah,
give them hope. I try to
yeah,
give them encouragement, but I also give them my number and
yeah,
my email address so that when they come home, potentially there's somebody that they can actually call and say, hey, Keri Singleton, do you remember me? You told me
yeah,
that, this, that, and the third. I need an internship. I need some advice. You understand what I'm saying?
true,
And that's what I try to do. I've met other people who I was also in jail with who started wonderful programs. But again, it really depends on where you are
Yeah.
in the United States anyway. It depends because it's a big country. There's a lot of people.
True.
So do people in Florida, you know, treat the people that come home from prison the same way as people in New York? No, because they have different agendas. It's always about in the United States, man. It's always about money. It's always about politics. That's always going to be the bottom line. America
Yeah.
cares about money first, people
Yeah.
second.
True. 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 I think with all nations, I mean, being influenced by corporate institutions,
Yeah,
it seems that way, I guess. But I mean,
yeah,
the sweeter side of you in 2013, joining, having your own show, and you've been doing this for like 10 years. I mean,
years.
that's a decade.
Decade,
How's
yes.
that like?
Uh, I think about it all the time, man. I'm like, 10 years ago. You know what, Ecliptic? Think about what you were doing 10 years ago, right? That's what I
Yeah,
tell everybody when they ask me, what's it like having a show that's 10 years old? Think about where your mind was at 10 years ago. You were probably a different person. You know what I
true.
mean? You were different. You may have had different friends. I know I did. You may have had
Yep,
different agendas, different goals, different dreams. 10 years
yep,
is a long time, right? And
yep,
it's been a great adventure. I plan on wrapping the show up this year.
yep,
Um, just because I want to do new things. 10 years is a great. That's a great run. 10 years is a long time in the entertainment business. You know what I mean?
yep.
There wasn't even TikTok 10 years ago. You know what I mean?
True that.
So my show's been out longer than a lot of social media platforms. So I
True.
mean, it's a great run. I'm currently thinking about the other things that I want to do. I want to focus more on the magazine that I write for and that I'm the president for. That's Intrigue Magazine. I want to write more
Yep,
books. I want to spend more time using my experiences and my platform to encourage people. One of the things that going to prison did for me, it taught me the importance of encouraging other people. What I got
wow.
from prison, aside from not to use other people's credit cards, was to was to encourage people. That experience was too big of an experience in my life for me to just want to forget about it. My family has said that, why don't you just forget about it? I can't. It was prison.
Yeah,
This is a real thing for me. It wasn't something that I watched on TV. It's something that I had to wake up to and go to sleep to every day for 3 years. So I felt like I had to use that experience um, to do something. You know what I'm saying? And I
wow.
think with the radio show, it's the same thing. All of the people
Yep,
that I've met in 10 years, what are you going to do with those relationships? What are you going to do with the
true,
knowledge that you've learned? Are you going to keep it to
true.
yourself or are you going to share it with other people? So I
Yep,
think that with every experience that we have that's been very important in our lives, we
yep,
should, good or bad,
yep.
we should use all of those experiences to encourage other people, to enhance the lives of other people. Even like if you have a bad relationship, if
Yep,
you have a very bad relationship, use what you've learned from that relationship to move into another relationship. Not necessarily the same, but I
true,
think every experience that we have, ecliptic, good or bad, should be used for something and
true
for
that.
other people. I think that's why I believe personally that's why we come on this planet. That's why we're here. We're here to experience and we're here to encourage and we're here to share. Our experiences
True,
are for us to learn from and for others to learn from as well.
true that. So, what would you say were like the most favorite moments that you had on the KK radio show? And who were the most favorite people you enjoyed having conversation with?
Oh my
That
gosh.
you would
So
think maybe some people should pay more attention to?
we've had a lot of celebrities on the Kerry's Corner Radio Show. We've also had a lot of people that weren't celebrities on the Kerry's
True.
Corner Radio Show. I remember inviting this gentleman. who was homeless
Yeah.
onto the show.
Yeah.
Um, and he taught me a lot about homelessness and how
Yeah.
he's, because he's a photographer, you know,
Whoa.
and so, what's it like to be living on the streets of New York City? You don't have a home, but you're a photographer. Like that's your
Wow.
job. So you're carrying around all this expensive, all these expensive
Equipment.
cameras and equipment and everything, and you're trying to decide between doing this job and eating. He taught me a lot about living. You understand what I'm saying? As far as the recording artists, we've had Melba Moore on the show. Melba Moore just recently received her star on the Hollywood Boulevard Walk of Fame in Los Angeles. Melba Moore is a legend.
Yeah.
She's been on TV. She's been on Broadway. She's a Tony award-winning artist. But she's also one of the most humble people I've ever met. Right. So I've learned
Mm.
from interviewing big celebrities like High Five and Melissa Morgan and a lot of the iconic recording artists that I've had the opportunity to meet. One of the biggest lessons I've learned from them is humility, right? How
True.
it doesn't matter how far you go, you need to remain humble. You need to know how to deal with people on different levels because as far up as you can go is as far down
Mm.
as you can go, and you never really know where you're going to be in that situation. I've had artists come out on the show, people that paint and clothing designers and actors, and I've learned the importance of art. I've learned
Whoa.
how somebody's pain can be transferred into a great painting or a wonderful hat
Yeah.
or you know what I mean? So I've learned not just about
Wow.
people greats, but I've learned a lot of human stories from doing the
Yeah.
show. I can't say that I
Yeah.
have a favorite guest because I've learned almost every person that's ever been on my show for the past 10 years has taught me a lot about something. And I
For
think
sure.
the greatest achievement of having this show wasn't having the show. It was having
Yeah.
the opportunity to meet people like yourself.
True.
I've never met anybody from South Africa. This is
For
awesome.
sure.
I hope that you and I will
Yeah.
be able to, to build and connect. And
Definitely.
that's the beauty of the Kerry's Corner radio show. The legacy of the show for me when the show's all over and it's almost over. I'm giving it
Yeah.
about 2 more months and we're done. But
Yeah.
the relationships that were built over those 10 years, the lessons that were learned, the people who taught me lessons and encouraged me and inspired me, those are the things that are most important for me for the show. Those are the things that will always remain the most important in terms of the show's 10-year legacy.
Wow. That's amazing. Whew. But so Uchi, I mean, if there are any upcoming artists that wanna come to your show, is it still possible, or you
Yes.
guys already like fully booked or stuff?
So I haven't officially said when we're going to end the show. So I don't want to
Yep.
say it yet until I
Yep.
say it officially. So I don't want to say yet. I mean, I have an idea in my mind
Yep.
when I plan on ending the show.
Yeah.
It's going to be this year. It's definitely going to be this year. It's going to be in the fall. Um,
Yep.
but I don't want to say when just as yet. However,
Mm.
yeah, we're still inviting guests. We take the show live in New York City every Monday at 5 o'clock. September, we're looking pretty booked up because we have a lot of events happening here in New York City. We want to celebrate the 50th year of hip hop. We want to celebrate the
Yeah.
African American Day Parade that happens in New York City.
All right. Uchi, just give them the specific dates for the events, so they can, yeah.
Oh, so we tape in terms of the radio show, we tape every
Yeah.
Monday live here in New York
Yep.
City at 5 p.m. The best way to get in contact with us, you can send us an
Yep.
email. So our
Yep.
email address is the THEKK radio show at gmail.com. So THEKK radioshow Let us know
For
what you do.
sure.
Let us know, if you're interested in coming into the studio. We don't do Zoom. We don't do phones. We don't do.
Yep.
We don't do StreamYard interviews. We
All
just do
right.
live. Got to come into the studio. Um,
Yep.
but I have a lot of other things that I want to do. There's a TV show that I started a couple of
Yep.
years back, and I want to jumpstart that again here in New York
Okay.
City. We gotta bring you on the TV show because see
Definitely.
the TV show the TV show you'll be able to we'll be using StreamYard and Zoom. So
Yeah.
we gotta interview you on the TV show, brother, because I want to know the questions that you ask me. I want to
Yeah.
ask the same questions to you. Um,
Definitely. Definitely, Ochi.
yeah, so absolutely. And Intrigue Magazine, you guys, WWWENTRIGUE magazine, Intrigue with an E.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
intriguemagazine.com. I'm the president of the magazine. I'm also a writer. And we definitely, absolutely, positively want to get somebody in South Africa, hint, hint,
Yeah.
to provide content for the magazine because that would be so dope if we just had
True.
the South African Joburg perspective of what's
Effective.
going
Yeah.
on in the community. We definitely want to do that. So, see, that's what I'm saying. These are things that you and I can build upon. So you never
Yeah.
know, who you're going to meet in this business. You never know who
True.
you connect with, but you got to be able to be humble, and you have to be able to learn to appreciate the importance of networking
Yeah.
and know that everybody has something to teach and everybody has
Yeah.
something to learn.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think it would be very interesting because I mean this side we're celebrating 40 years of South African hip hop, and you guys are like 50
Yes,
years,
yes,
so it's so amazing. And I mean, last year we had what's this? There was Mr. Cheeks on and Keith
oh,
Murray at the South
love,
African festival. There was a
love,
South African festival. They were performing this, so yeah.
nice,
So I mean, yeah. So yeah. I mean, even this year they have there's a South African festival this side. They usually bring international guests, but they haven't mentioned stuff like that. So I
right.
think we need to do more of those platforms as well.
Absolutely. You and I are gonna exchange information. I
For
will
sure.
send my email address and my WhatsApp
All right.
information because I
All right.
definitely would like to for you and your platform to join with the
Yeah.
magazine and be able to
Yeah.
provide more to the public information about what's going on in South Africa. Such a beautiful country. Such a I mean, I loved history when I was in high school. So, I know
Yeah.
54, I think 54 countries in Africa, right? 54?
True. Right.
54 countries. Africa,
Correct. Yep.
I hate hearing people say Africa's a country. It's a continent.
Yeah. It's
Second,
a continent. Yeah.
the second biggest continent in the world where humans were born, and there's
Yeah.
54 different countries with 54 different cultures. And South
True.
Africa is one of the most beautiful. I'm also, by the way, I love sharks. So
Yeah.
I know that
So we should bring you to Durban or
you have a
yeah,
lot
or
of
Cape Town.
you have a lot of sharks, great white sharks
Yeah.
down in South Africa. But I think it's so important, man, that people understand the beauty of the South African country, the beauty of the South
Yeah.
African people, and the history. You guys are some strong people. South
True.
Africans, in particular, are very strong people. I think all Africans are strong, but South
True.
Africans are among the strongest. You had a lot to deal with. You had a lot
Yeah.
to overcome, and you overcame it. You
True.
know, we celebrate Mandela here in the United States, but he's not the only South African that was great.
True that.
So,
There are
yeah,
many others. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
and I think I'm
But
talking
but
to
but 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 the fact that we both have these kind of platforms, people will get to know, you know,
yes,
about the great leaders. Even your side, I mean, it wasn't just Martin Luther King. You had the Noble Trualis,
right,
and the Stokely Carmichaels
yeah.
and stuff like that. I
Colin
think that
Kaepernick.
that's what.
I'm gonna say this,
So,
man. If
yeah,
we the brother, a former football player, but he was a
yeah,
greater civil rights activist than he was ever a football player.
Yeah.
Colin Kaepernick is somebody
Nick, yes,
who I
yes,
truly
that was very inspiring of him, of kneeling down,
yes, exactly. The man gave up
Yeah,
his career for his people. You just don't see that
yeah,
very much nowadays. People are not going to give up their money, their bread and butter,
yeah,
their income, their careers
yeah,
for
for integrity.
people that they may never meet. So I always felt that that was. I think he's underrated. I think he should be celebrated a lot more. But as I said before, man, like we here in the United States have a lot to learn from our
Yeah,
African brothers and sisters whose countries were colonized by Europeans and
yeah,
who were able to get their countries back. People just
yeah,
don't understand the beauty of the African continent, the people that live there, and the strength and the tenacity of African people. I Every time I meet somebody from Africa, I want to bow down because I know that that
sure,
individual is the lineage of some super 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 strong people. So
for sure, for
I'm
sure.
honored to know you, boss.
Yeah, I'm also happy to know you because I mean, I've been interviewing even this most the guy who told me was he wrote for Easy E's some of Easy E's tracks,
Mhm.
and because this is it Risk Forever, the guy who did the cover for Tupac.
I'm not
I think,
sure.
yeah, the Machiavelli album cover. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, that guy
Wow.
also as well. I mean, yeah, so he said he also wants to come, so I felt like, maybe we need to just have some time. Maybe we can have Zoom meeting and stuff, and we
Absolutely.
might create a beautiful event because so many of us in that space are very artistic, and I think
Yes.
it could make an impact for whether here at home or 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 that side by your side as well.
Well, you count me in. Count me.
For
I don't
sure.
know why I can't see this. People can't. You got to see it.
Yeah, I see it now. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The
My,
reflection is dope now.
my cousin made this. It's a necklace. I
For
don't know.
sure.
It's made of wood. He makes
Yeah.
everything out of pure wood. So and he made me this one of Africa. And so you're
Yeah,
down
we
here.
should we should we should we should interview him sometime. I
Yeah, he
mean,
would love it. Yeah, he makes
yeah,
everything. He can make anything, and I needed to have the motherland on my chest. So
definitely.
yeah, that's his name
Definitely. Definitely.
Muwala Muhammad. So he would love
Wala Muhammad. Okay, for
Muwala.
sure. But you'll send me later his link, right?
Yes, of
And
course,
then we'll see what we can do.
absolutely.
But Ochi, um, I salute you so much. I
Thank you
mean,
so much, man.
your story from should I say from rags to the highest. I mean,
Not to the high,
man,
but I'm listen. I'm better than I was,
yeah,
and I think that should be the goal in life. I mean, to be honest with you, Ecliptic, I never wanted to be rich. I'm not
yeah,
anything close to being rich at all, but I'm
yeah,
comfortable. I'm okay. I'm
yeah,
happy, and I think that in life, if you can, no matter whether you're rich or poor, you're gonna have challenges. Nobody comes to this planet um, without challenges. You're gonna have them. You can be the wealthiest person in the world. Look at Donald
yeah,
Trump.
exactly.
He's rich. That's not helping him
With a
out.
whole lot of problems.
You know what I mean? But I mean, that's
Yeah,
extreme. That's an extreme case. But I mean, I don't.
yeah,
I think the goal in life is to just be happy, and the goal in life is also to share, to
yeah,
share and absorb from your fellow man
yeah,
and grow. Yeah. So
for sure. Ochi, I appreciate you so much. Um,
for having me,
I'm
brother.
looking forward to more work with you guys, and who knows, maybe one day um you guys will come this side or we'll come this side.
Yes,
Either way for me is fine.
absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, brother. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Peace. Much love.
Much love.
Sure. Yo, guys, man, that was amazing. We had an interview with the OG, DJ Keri D. Uh, man, as you guys know, every interview here at home, spreadless. We made a whole interview. Shout out to the OG Keri D for letting us interview him. So yeah, guys, I mean, there's a whole lot of work for us to do. I mean, as creatives, so we really need to unite. Yeah. If you guys have any ideas, definitely, man, do hit me up and let's see what we can do. Um, we really need to change things in our communities, regardless of where we are. But yeah, guys, shout out to y'all for watching. My name is Ecliptic. Yep, live from Johannesburg, South Africa. So yeah, peace. I'm out.